So the 21358 LEGO minifigure prize machine released this past week, and it's deservedly been getting a lot of buzz for the classic LEGO minifigure redesigns it contains, especially the 2 new classic space astronaut colors and the 2 new castle factions, the Kraken and the Griffin. But did you know that among all these new additions are 2 legendary LEGO characters with long histories, including one that's never been made into a physical minifigure before? I think a lot of people were expecting the Pirates theme to be represented in this set by Captain Redbeard, since his 2020 redesign was featured in the Ideas fan submission by Rob Van Gansenwinkel. But as revealed by the official LEGO Builds Instagram, these 2 figures are piratical deep cuts. They are none other than grown-up versions of Bosun Will and Camilla from the original launch of the LEGO Pirates theme in 1989. Now, if you're not familiar with these characters, don't worry. We're going to go in-depth into their appearances in LEGO Pirates media. If you'd like to experience their full backstory, check out my still-in-progress Captain Redbeard biography series, in which these characters and their stories are retold in greater detail. The most influential appearance of Will and Camilla is the 1989 6255 Golden Medallion comic book, a 36-page publication written by Danish cartoonist Per Sonderhage and illustrated by the Vanyo brothers. This was a novelty for LEGO at the time. While there had been comics produced for Space and Castle, this was the first time the comic was sold in the same packaging as the sets themselves, complete with minifigures who were clearly identifiable characters in the story. In the comic was the bosun of Captain Redbeard. A bosun is a ship's officer who is in charge of daily operations, maintenance, and crew management. During an attack on one of the governor's vessels, Will meets and falls for Governor Broadside's niece, Camilla. These 2 star-crossed lovers from opposing factions find themselves drawn into a treasure hunt for the buried fortune of the infamous Blackheart cousins. This comic was printed in multiple languages and saw wide distribution on store shelves along with the first wave of pirate sets. For a lot of young Pirates fans, this was the extent of the characters' appearances, but the Golden Medallion was far from the only tale to continue the story of Will and Camilla. In fact, the LEGO Group had more than just a comic in mind when the characters were created. In 1987, LEGO Publishing's Preben de Wald asked Per Sonderhage to come up with a set of characters for their yet-to-be-launched Pirate series. He was instructed to include interesting interactions and conflicts that could be used in not just the toys themselves, but also books, comics, games, role-playing games, and movies. Most of these, with the exception of the role-playing game, came to fruition in one form or another. While the comic's follow-up, The Island of Mist, was cancelled before coloring could begin, there were a number of follow-ups that saw limited distribution in select regions, including audio dramas in Germany and a book series in the UK. Among the requested characters in the original brief was a first and second mate for the pirate captain and civilians for the governor's faction, including 1 female figure. Sonderhage took these open-ended instructions and created 2 characters whose interactions would drive the pirate story forward in many formats. First was Bosun Will, replacing the role of second mate, a well-read, heroic swashbuckler in contrast to the roguish captain. As described by Sonderhage, Roger raised Will after his father was hanged for piracy, but I thought it would be fun to make the younger the more sensible one, and the older man the daredevil. The female civilian figure requested by LEGO developed into Camilla, the niece of the Imperial leader Governor Broadside. With Will on one side and Camilla on the other, Sonderhage had 2 star-crossed lovers from opposing factions and classes. This provided a built-in possibility for conflict and intrigue, and the pirate stories LEGO hoped to tell. Camilla was depicted as living in the governor's household, watched over by her Aunt Prudence. She was depicted as a bold and clever young woman, and showed fearlessness in the face of most pirates. She took the initiative to bribe guards, manipulate her uncle, and clandestinely smuggle information to the pirates for Will's benefit, or whenever imperial and piratical interests aligned. Will and Camilla both have antecedents in Per Sonderhage's 1987 LEGO Castle Kids comic, The Robber Baron, which features a young farmer also named Will, and Princess Alma, whose interactions with her strict chaperone Mistress Prim somewhat mirrors Camilla's relationship with her haughty Aunt Prudence. The final pages of The Robber Baron even included a map to buried treasure on an apparent pirate island as part of an activity. This may be coincidence or a possible reference to the then upcoming pirate theme. It seems like a bold move to create another character named Will after the last major LEGO comic had included a character with the exact same name, but the relative obscurity of the Robber Baron compared to the wider release of the Golden Medallion made this much less obvious. The choice of the name Camilla was also bold. Less than 10 years before, Kjeld Kirk Christensen had become the president and CEO of the LEGO Group, and his wife was also named Camilla. Was this a cheeky tribute to the spouse of the biggest LEGO boss at the time, or just another coincidence? Sonderhage had also been requested to provide physical characteristics for each of his characters. At the time he received the instructions in 1987, the LEGO sets and minifigures had already been designed, but images of the toy designs had not yet been released to the advertising team. The concept art for the proposed comic therefore shows a wide variety of looks for both Will and Camilla. Sander Hege's own artwork, created closer to the theme's release in 1989, is the closest to the minifigure design. Sander Hege's designs for Will appear to incorporate the blue jacket with red and white stripes used on several other pirate minifigures, all with eye patches. The final design ditched this jacket in favor of the red and white striped shirt created for the mustachioed members of the pirate crew. This seems to be because the first make character, Rummy, had originally resembled the mustachioed pirates before being changed to match the exact appearance of the eye-patched pirates. Since Rummy was featured on the cover of the comic and was included as a physical minifigure along with Will, having both varieties of pirate costume represented would be more visually appealing. In addition to the red striped shirt, Will was given red pants and a red bandana as well, a consistent color choice that set him apart from the other striped pirates, who tended to have mismatched legs and headgear. This may have been inspired by Burt Lancaster in the 1952 film The Crimson Pirate. It was also a logical choice of colors for the main hero in a LEGO theme. Will's clean-shaven appearance was another contrast from the rest of the pirates, whose faces, and a first for LEGO, included beards, lipstick, eye patches, and other facial details. Ironically, Will's youthful look was best represented by the classic LEGO smiley face that had been used across all themes since 1978. While the LEGO group intended for Sander Hege's story concepts to be used in the toy line as well, the pirate sets and minifigures had already been locked in by 1986, a year before the pirate characters and story were commissioned. Thanks to the success of the LEGO castle sets, taking up much of LEGO's production capacity, the pirates theme had been left to simmer on the back burner, with character development taking place in the interim. Thus, the minifigure Will was exclusive to the comic book when the theme was finally released in 1989. And while a female civilian character had been specifically requested by LEGO, no such minifigure appeared in any Imperial factions released during the original run of the pirates theme. Will's importance as the pirate captain's right-hand man, and his apparent absence from the actual sets, left something of a hole to fill. In several international catalogs, Will was mentioned by name, along with the other major characters in the theme, sometimes being called Bill or Willie. In this catalog, he appears as one of the mustachioed pirates common in the sets. This was doubled down on in the UK, where set 6235 Buried Treasure was explicitly named Bosun Will and Spinoza, and in France, where the same minifigure was used to represent the bosun in a comic supplement. This installment, an activity book included with an issue of Petit Loup, was a direct sequel to the Golden Medallion comic. Although he is significantly different from the comic version, it's clear that this minifigure was used to represent Will retroactively, which means that Will also appears in sets 6257 Castaway's Raft, 6285 Black Sea's Barracuda, and even 6286 Skull's Eye Schooner. While most of Sander Hege's extended cast of characters wouldn't receive minifigures during the initial run of the theme, the version of Will from the comic book did make a final physical appearance in set 6267 Lagoon Lockup in 1991. Will and Camilla's adventures extended across not just the Golden Medallion comic, but a storybook series, 2 activity books, and 6 German audio dramas. Will appeared in all of these sources. He even had his name in the title of an audio drama, a storybook, and an activity book. Will's distinctive anchor tattoo, unseen on any of his minifigures or in the Golden Medallion, was an important plot point in the storybook Will and the Gold Chase. A cancelled follow-up comic and the 5th episode of the German audio drama introduced Sander Hege's intended backstory for Will as the adopted son of the pirate captain. The audio drama identified Will's father as William Gordon Frederick Cavendish, a captain who had been betrayed by his first mate, Fowl, the overarching villain of the original pirate storyline, in order to steal his ship. Sander Hege had anticipated quite a bit of the eventual plotline of the Pirates of the Caribbean films, with, of course, the exception of the fact that this William Sr. was executed for piracy and not living a twice-cursed half-life on the bottom of the sea floor. Will also appeared in a few commercials during this time, as well as the short promotional film The Pirates, which included an entire narration by the character. This seems to have been distributed via videocassette and was played in stores to advertise the theme. Will was also recreated as a large LEGO statue in 1990 for the touring LEGO World show World of Pirates for a scene that was reused in the 1993 Pirates Ahoy show. Camilla also appeared in the activity books and in the first volume of the storybooks, where her lost gold pendant sets off the gold chase of the title. Like Will, Camilla appeared in all 6 episodes of the German audio dramas, the first of which was an adaptation of the Golden Medallion. 2 of her most notable appearances were in Episode 4, where her arranged marriage to Governor McGare prompts Will to take action to save her, and Episode 5, where she is the one who provides Will with the clues he needs to discover his father's secrets. In these stories, Will is played by German voice actor Sascha Driga. Strangely enough, Sascha's sister, Kerstin Driga, plays Camilla, a somewhat awkward casting choice that could really only work in audio form. The initial cast of characters launched with the pirate theme slowly faded away after the first 3 years, but they were never really forgotten. In 1995, the German company Carousel released a new series of audio dramas with episodes for several LEGO themes, including pirates. Will appears in both of the pirate episodes, again played by Sasha Draga, providing a link back to the original series of audio dramas. The next time Will and Camilla showed up was somewhat unusual. Since the initial wave of pirate stories portrayed the characters as humans rather than minifigures, there were no direct references to LEGO building, bricks, or minifigures in the text. Without the branding or the visuals, they were essentially generic pirate adventures. Europa took advantage of this fact following the success of the Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl movie. In 2004, Europa re-released their 6 LEGO Pirates audio dramas on the cassette and for the first time on CD. They were stripped of the LEGO branding and new artwork was created with different looks for all the characters. Will in particular seems to have been changed to resemble Jack Sparrow, while Camilla's girlish bows and bob were replaced with elegant gowns and a blonde poof. Because of this re-release, these audio dramas are still readily available on many audio streaming services, depending on the country you live in. I definitely recommend checking them out if you can. If you need English translations, the user Runamuck over on Eurobricks has you covered with translations of all 8 LEGO Pirate audio dramas. In 2009, LEGO Battles was released for the Nintendo DS. This real-time strategy game allowed you to play 2 campaigns. One is the Pirates, the other is the Imperials. While the 2009 Pirates line featured the Imperial Guard Redcoats, this game gave us an updated look at Governor Broadside's Bluecoats. Broadside is the main character in the Imperial campaign, with Camilla appearing briefly in a final cutscene. This is the first time that Camilla was given an official minifigure design. In place of her short, light brown hair, she has long, dark brown hair, a unique face, and the torso and dress pieces from the Admiral's daughter minifigure included in the 6243 Brickbeard's Bounty set. This led me to use the same pieces when creating a custom Camilla for my Redbeard biography videos, substituting a more period-accurate head and a modern hairpiece that better matches her original comic appearance. Now, this minifigure is honestly close enough to the in-game character that they could be one and the same. There's some additional evidence for this, but we'll get to that later. More importantly, in the game, Camilla achieves full swashbuckling status as an unlockable combat unit. The original comic and audio dramas had shown her to be a clever, brave character, but LEGO Battles showed that she had potential as an action hero too. Bosun Will had to wait a little longer for his next confirmed appearance, though there are several minifigures who might have been intended to be him. I want to tread carefully here because I've been burned before. In 2015, the Pirates theme had a brief comeback with Redbeard and Rummy's names each being attached to new figures via the official LEGO website. It seemed like a logical assumption that the young cabin boy included with the set 70413 The Brick Bounty was intended to be a younger version of Will. After all, he wore all red with stripes. The previous Pirates revival featuring Redbeard also arguably featured a younger version of the captain, and the later backstory from the 2020 set 21322 Pirates of Barracuda Bay didn't seem to leave any room between the original Pirates theme and its own reintroduction of the Pirates characters. So, if you've watched my Redbeard biography video, this is why the 2015 Pirate theme predates the original Pirates theme there, and treats Will and the Pirate Boy figure as one and the same. However, I later discovered that the 2020 book LEGO Minifigure, A Visual History New Edition implies that the Pirate Boy is an entirely separate character. The Brick Bounty's freshest face may have based his book on Bosun Will from 1989's LEGO Pirates sets. Yikes. So having got that wrong, I'm approaching these next 2 minifigures with caution, but I think they're still worth noting. The 31109 LEGO Creator 3-in-1 pirate ship included a clean-shaven figure with a red bandana, a red and white striped shirt, and dark orange legs, a pretty close match to Will. Even closer is the LEGO Factory minifigure sent out to some fan outlets in 2023 alongside the LEGO House exclusive 40504, a minifigure tribute. Since this set was a large-scale recreation of the classic Redbeard minifigure, it makes sense to assume that the smiley-faced pirate was intended to be Will, even in spite of the gray pants. It's probably easy enough to order your own version of this from the LEGO Minifigure Factory, though the 45 years of the minifigure logo on the back is exclusive to this figure. When the LEGO Ideas 21322 Pirates of Barracuda Bay was released in 2020, showing the shipwrecked crew of the original Black Sea's Barracuda 20 years later, many fans were curious about why Will wasn't included in their number. The official line from set designer Milan Maj was that others, like Spinoza or Bosun Will, are off on their own adventure, so aren't included in this set. Maybe the fan community can inspire the next chapter in their story, too. Thanks to the 21358 LEGO Minifigure Prize Machine, also from LEGO Ideas, this statement has proved to be prophetic. Bosun Will and Camilla return with some new designs, which bring with them some interesting implications for the lore. Will has shaved his mustache, but he's kept some stubble, giving him a more rugged, less boyish look. He's also gained a vest, another version of the jacket that he lost during the initial development of the character. Otherwise, he's still the same Will as ever, dressed all in red and white. According to LEGO creative lead Jordan Scott in an online Blocks magazine feature, Will has gone through some promotions since the last time we saw him. This explains his absence from the Barracuda Bay set. He may be a bosun no longer, but it's certainly stuck around as a nickname. Perhaps he's finally regained command of his father's ship Barracuda from the treacherous foul, as he swore to do so in the 5th audio drama. Camilla's look seems to pull from all of her different visual depictions. She's clearly in an Imperial officer's uniform this time around, but rather than blue or red, it's a brick yellow color closer to her dresses across the comic and books. She retains the red sash from her comic book outfit. Instead of a ruff, she wears a bow reminiscent of those she used to wear in her hair, with a placement similar to the 2010 version of Camilla. And her yellow hairpiece is consistent with her blonde appearance on the 2004 audio drama re-releases. There's a good reason that Camilla is in a full uniform here instead of a dress. Jordan Scott explains, Camilla was the Admiral's daughter in the lore. Now she grew up to be an Admiral herself. Now this is an interesting wrinkle because if you've been following along, you'll know that in the original stories, Camilla was Governor Broadside's niece. Nowhere was it mentioned that she was an Admiral's daughter. But this fact is also present in the promotional images released on Instagram, presented as though this were a bit of background we're supposed to be familiar with. Of course, since we never found out who Camilla's parents were, there's nothing preventing this from being true, but I'd be curious as to what lore Scott is referring to here. This brings us back to Camilla's appearance in LEGO Battles. Again, most of her look here is pretty close to the Admiral's daughter minifigure from Brickbeard's Bounty. So is it just possible that LEGO is assuming these are the same characters? It certainly seems like it. The only evidence to the contrary is that this character was named Miranda Valentina in the 2012 Legoland Florida Water Stunt Show. But, of course, alternate names are nothing new for the Pirates characters, and Miranda is the commander of the Imperial Guard forces in the show, consistent with her new officer's rank. Perhaps Camilla joined the Guard under the name Miranda? Maybe the next chapter in the LEGO Pirates lore will explain this. Hopefully we won't have to wait 35 years to find out. Do you have the Golden Medallion comic or any of the other stories mentioned here? Do you think that Miranda and Camilla are one and the same? Let me know in the comments. Also, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out some of the other videos on our channel. If you can support us on the new Patreon page, you'll be able to help bring more of this kind of content to the channel. In return, you'll get your name in the credits, show notes for each episode, and early access to videos. No matter what, I appreciate each and every viewer, especially those of you who stick it out for the whole episode. So once again, thank you.